What do you mean, Pastor James? I'm trying to take the leap of faith every time an opportunity comes because I'm trying to hit it financially.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that faith is not faith because you're in an unstable place looking for a lick.
My God.
I didn't know that faith was I get to a place of stability. Then God calls me out and I take the leap.
My God. So, Pastor James.
Good morning.
Good
How y'all
morning,
doing? Y'all
everyone.
good? All right.
Pastor
let's rock
James,
and
can
roll.
you explain to them, some that this may be their first time tuning in, this could be their first time here.
Yeah.
Why do we do this? What's the purpose of Grace and
We
Truth?
do Grace and Truth because we're thoroughly convinced and fully persuaded that if we're going to get the families of transforming faith together, if we're going to get the families everywhere together, then in order to get families together, we got to get relationships horizontally together. Or a lot of us focus on our relationship vertically with Jesus, but we don't do a good job focusing on our relationships with other people.
Yeah.
And I'm thoroughly convinced and fully persuaded that you may say you have a strong relationship with God, and you very well may tell yourself that, but if you can't find 4 strong relationships that you have with other people where there is no drama, there is no confusion, there is no chaos, there is no toxicity, you can't really say you got a relationship with God and it's just that strong.
That's so
It may be a
true.
relationship, but it ain't necessarily a strong relationship, because the one thing the Holy Spirit is going to do is convict you about how you love people. He's going to convict you about how you treat people. And so therefore, we're not a ministry to teach people how to do church. We've been commissioned to teach people how to do life.
There you
and
go.
how to live life fruitful and effectively means that we got to do relationships in a fruitful and effective way.
That's so
and may I
true.
submit to you, we need wisdom to do relationships in a fruitful and effective way. And on a whole nother scale, bad relationships are destroying our financial strength of our households.
I don't think people realize that.
Yeah.
We'll be saying this statistic a lot, but they were saying the way that they do the wealth gap in really across the world.
Yeah.
Indians come in at like 91 or 93%
Absolutely.
of having the highest wealth because of their marriage rates, because like 91 or either 93% of them are married. And
Absolutely.
African Americans, we are at the lowest of like 33%
Absolutely.
because we have the weakest rate in marriages and
Absolutely.
being successful. And so that's the thing. We can love God, but if we aren't at the place of really being able to worship God and to really have this effective prayer life, because every time we decide to pray or every time we decide to worship, it's because we've gone through war at home. We've been through war
heartbreak.
before we've come into the church.
Yeah.
And so now we're coming in here and everybody's like, lift your hand, praise God. And you're trying to, but you like, I just got through literally having the fight of my life at home with my husband, the fight of my life with my wife or with my children. So we do this where our heart posture can really get to the place where God can say, I can use them because they've gotten it right with
Here.
people.
Yeah.
So that means that we get to
Absolutely.
be a real expression of Christ.
Absolutely. And I'm going to continue to say this also. Broken relationships and broken marriages produces broken children.
You right about that?
Broken children produces broken communities. Broken communities produces broken cities. Broken cities produces a broken state. Broken state produces a broken nation. May I submit to you, the brokenness starts inside of the family.
Yeah. So, Pastor James, now
Let's
that we
rock.
said that, let's get a little bit personal with our family. I'm putting you in the hot seat, and I think you're going to put me in the hot seat too. As people get to know you and I got a question for you. You ready?
Yeah, I guess. I ain't
And
got no
I'm
choice.
curious to know what they think too. When you and I have a disagreement, who is the first one to apologize? Is it me or is it you?
We don't have to apologize about disagreements, but when we
Okay,
have
well, argument, maybe it's a disagreement where I
just
know that you're
playing.
wrong and I know that I'm right.
Yeah. When we have a blow up.
Yeah, when we have a blow
When we
up,
have a
right.
blow up.
Who do y'all think
y'all think
apologizes first? What's going to be your answer? Who do you think?
Yeah, it's me. Of course it's me. Who else going to? How can y'all tell it's me first? That's a great question. How can y'all tell it's me first? Everybody in here said Pastor
Because
James.
sometimes it's not Pastor James. That's
No,
probably because they think Pastor
it's me.
James
It's
so
Pastor
holy.
James. It's
He's
Pastor
so
James.
holy, you know.
It's-
That wife
No.
of his, she can get a little hell in her sometimes. That's probably what they thinking. That's probably what they thinking. Right? Y'all ain't gonna say it. I know. But no, it really depends. Like, just to tell you guys, like yesterday, and just tell me if I'm wrong. Pastor James said, I'm gonna go to the mall and look for something real quick. then I'm going to pick us up dinner and then I'll be home. So I'm like, okay, cool. Because I had been in the house all day. I had not had anything to eat. He calls me. Okay, well, this is the thing. So I'm like about 5 o'clock or so, and y'all know time is changing. So for me, I really need to be in bed by 8 o'clock because I know my attitude the next morning.
So it's 5 and her mindset is already at 6. It's 5, but my mindset is 5.
Because technically it really is already 6.
It's 5.
And so let me finish. So it's 3 o'clock. Now, so we have the conversation about 3 o'clock. You're like, I'm going to swing by the mall, I'm going to pick up food, and we're going to have dinner. I'm like, okay, cool. I called Pastor James about 5 o'clock. I said, hey, babe, what you doing? He said, I'm on the phone. I'm on my way home. The barber is on his way to cut my hair. I'm like, okay, cool. You got the food? No, I ain't got the food. I'm going to go ahead. Bruce going to cut my hair. Then I'm going to go back out and get the food. Y'all, I was livid because I was so hungry. I had been in the house, and I'm like, I'm going to eat my food, take my shower, and just going to.
It's so 5
ended
o'clock.
up. So we
got time.
So we didn't end up.
I made it to the house at 5:05.
Okay.
I was almost walking in the house when we called.
Okay, and so after.
And the barber was outside sitting there waiting on me. So what
Pastor Edwards, it was just the thing. So it wasn't the fact
I forgot.
Thank you. He said it. It was the fact of the lack of communication because all he had to say was, hey, babe, I'm going to be late with getting the food. So if you want to go ahead and get something, don't worry about it. So y'all, guess what time we ate dinner last night?
7.
That's not true,
7?
Pastor James.
What time we eat?
We are in the sanctuary, sir.
See, he finished cutting my hair at 6.
We are in the sanctuary,
He finished cutting my hair at 6. I immediately went and got the food and came right back.
We were
7:35 exactly.
It was 8:35, Pastor James. So long story short, because we're taking too long for this question. Long story short,
my fault.
I was irritated and I snapped a little bit. I snapped when we were on the phone.
I didn't know you snapped.
I did. I actually hung up on you. You was talking. I just hung up the phone because I just was going there. But yeah, I did. I'm surprised you didn't, because when you came in the house, you were real quiet too. So
no, I wasn't. I came in the house and I let the barber in right there.
Sir, you putting on the show right now. So anyway, the reason I brought this up is because when he finally got the food, when I walked into the living room, what was the first thing I did? I walked in and I hugged you. That was me apologizing first. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody clap for that.
Let's go to the next.
We could stay here for a second.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to move on.
But yeah, he does. I will agree. He does usually apologize the first. He does not like to see me angry. Yeah. So yeah, that's true.
I love peace.
Yeah, you do.
I ain't with crazy. Okay, so my question to you is, as a spouse, what did you not expect, or what did you, when you, as we are pastors, as you're a pastor and a spouse, what is the specific thing that pretty much surprised you coming into ministry, being a pastor and a spouse?
Well, the first thing that surprised me is that we're actually here, because when I met Pastor James, he told me that he was never going to pastor. So he had this great revelation of the word, and I thought it was amazing. So we just started we called it Conversations of Faith. We started a little Bible study, and we would just get together. And so when it bloomed into a church, that caught me off guard. But what I really will say, what has surprised me the most, it is the greatest sacrifice of my life. And I don't think the Holy Spirit allowed me to count the cost in advance, because I would have talked myself out of it. People see, it's things like this. You all woke up this morning, an hour difference, but you get to sit and you get to receive. You wake up in the morning, and my first thought is, God, what do you have for me to pour out today? So it's not even about me. I don't take this lightly, because we are responsible for souls.
Yeah, he called us
so the level of dedication and commitment and making sure that our life is constantly wrapped around transforming faith, meaning like we don't take long periods of vacations. Yeah. We're not at that place yet. We try our very best not to miss Sundays. Like, we really, really care about the people. So I think what surprises me the most is that when you are used to doing life so long, and you're doing it your way, you can't be selfish in ministry.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's God showing me this version of myself, like, wow, Tiff, you are not selfish. It's a constant yes. Even if it's a whispered yes, it's still a yes. So I think that's been the most surprising, is that ministry has been the greatest labor of love in my entire life. Yeah.
And let me say this. We're not doing transforming faith.
No.
We are transforming faith.
That's why I'm saying there is no separation. We are so deeply intertwined in it.
We don't take off this hat and put on another hat when we lead transforming faith. No, we are transforming faith.
Yeah.
Because if you got to take off a whole lot of hats, that's going to be a whole lot of work.
It can be exhausting. You know, the other thing I think that surprises me, that we're going to go into our topic, Pastor James and I got married, and we planted a church in the same year.
At the same time.
And you would have thought that there would be so much friction. It would be so heavy.
Yeah.
When you just said that we are transforming faith, that's why, although it's a labor of love and it's a deep commitment, it's never been friction between us, because who we are here is who we are at home.
Yeah, and I think honestly, babe, the topic for today is the secret to getting it right in love and marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the secret.
I
believe he just showed it to us.
Yeah.
You not putting a performance on of you being something every single time you change environments, every time you change situations, every time you change circumstances.
That's so good.
If you just have to wear one hat and be who you are at your job, in the marriage, in parenting, in friendships, in finances, in every dimension of your life, the problem is people try to be too many people.
Yeah.
And you get confused when the seasons change.
Yeah. You know, Pastor James, when I think about it, there's often times you and I can be communicating, and I may not say Pastor James, I'd be like James, and we're just conversation, and some people are like, ooh, but it's because while I'm here, I'm being your wife right now. I just happen to be your wife that stands beside you in ministry. So you all get like this real version of us, because what you really get is Tiffaney, who is the wife that happens to stand next to her husband in ministry. And it's literally that order. It's God, me being me, and me being your wife, and getting the opportunity to stand next to you. I don't have to have a facade or this first lady hat. Who I am here on a Sunday morning is the exact girl you're going to get outside in the lobby.
This is why identity is everything when you are getting connected to a person.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you don't know who you are, then the person, you're going to depend on the person to tell you who you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you don't know where you're going, you're going to depend on the person to let you know where you should be going. Right? And so if one person got his identity intact, but the other person doesn't, then there's going to be a conflict of interest as you all are trying to create a flow.
Yeah,
Are
that's
you with
so
me?
true.
Yeah, the secret to getting it right in love and marriage, both. Yeah, be yourself.
And I think that's so good.
It's real good, for real.
What we're going to do is we're going to talk to singles and we're going to talk to married people.
Okay.
But I want to stay with the singles, because that really, what you just did, brought me to our first question that we're talking about. When I'm trying to get it right in a relationship, Pastor James, how do I balance having grace for someone and making sure that I'm not being overly like judgy of them, but I still have a grace for them. But at the same time, I don't want to make it feel like I'm falling in love with their potential. How do I have grace but still live in reality with who the person really is?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think first and foremost, I think you have to be real with yourself when you meet this person, and you may see a couple of flaws here or there, but at the same time, you getting this type of teaching, and you know you got to see them the same way God sees you. You know that you got to have grace for the person to see the best in the person. But I think there's a couple questions you got to ask yourself. I think the first thing you need to ask yourself is, do I have the patience for this? Right? Because if I don't have the patience for this, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get connected to something that it may take longer than I anticipated for it to take, in order for the way I see them to come to the surface.
So how is that the difference between me having, I understand what you're saying, it's the grace part, but I don't want to confuse grace with really not seeing the person for who they are. Should they start demonstrating that they're trying to head?
Now, watch this. I see who God is calling you to be. I know who God is calling you to be, right? But I also will not deny the reality of that you got some bad habits over here.
Got you.
Right? And I know you got to move from to. And I know the hardest thing in the world is to start a habit or break a habit. The hardest thing in the world. So I got to ask myself the question, at my age, at my season, and where I'm going in my life, do I have the patience to be able to wait for you to identify within yourself that you got something that is infecting you? I can tell you that, but that don't necessarily mean that you're going to receive what I said.
Yeah.
Am I making any sense? So it's going to take time for a person to see that, right? And then the next thing it's going to do, it's going to take time for a person to face it. Because when I face it, when I see it, it's a different thing between seeing it and facing it.
That's so true.
I can see something, but never really address it. I can see it and deny it. And so the easiest way to stay in bondage is to stay in denial.
So true.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
So if I'm saying I see these habits or these traits in you that I know that's going to infect us in the long haul, I got to ask myself the question, do I got the patience? First thing. Then the next thing is this. Here comes the great part now. I got to ask myself, do I have the tools to pull out what I see?
My God.
See, because if I don't have the tools to pull out what I see, then my patience is not going to make it
Can we
place.
pause right there?
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you are dating people and you are in a relationship with them, the thing that you're complaining about, you've got to ask yourself, am I able to even help cultivate them into who I see that they have the possibility of being? Because some of us are putting demands on people to be something, but they cannot be that because maybe you don't even have it within you to help cultivate and pull it out. Prime example. When Pastor James met me, I just had a conversation on a podcast about this. They said, well, when you all met, both of you all were saved. And I was like, well, yeah, I was saved. But on the side of that, I was a very lukewarm believer, meaning that
saved and carnal, saved and
yes,
lukewarm.
sir, I was. I was, and I will admit
Testify,
that. I will definitely admit that. So when I met you, I'm being honest, Pastor James, the man I met, he not perfect. We know your spirit perfect. But what I'm saying is there is not a lot of carnality in my husband. Meaning when I met him, Pastor James is not like this pirate where he curses a lot. I don't mean to make you just look just shiny, but I've never heard my husband say a curse word. He does not curse. He doesn't drink. He doesn't watch a lot of wild stuff. He really does have this serious prayer life. He really does read his Bible. And a lot of these disciplines you developed while you were in prison.
Yeah.
Well, he met me. I ain't never been to prison. I have been just walking with God, learning. I was very, very social in my life. And so there were some parts of me that literally needed to be cultivated, that needed to be defined, where I needed to see myself, where I feel like you introduced me to a better version of myself. But the thing is, you could have seen this girl who was lukewarm, but really had a great heart, had this love for God. And you could have said, well, you know what? I love her, but she got some habits where she's still going out meeting her girls for like happy hours. She's still like doing some things. And you could have been at that moment and said like, you know what? This isn't somebody that I'm ready to be with. But you literally saw something in me where you were like, okay, this is who she is right now. But I see really who she has the potential of becoming.
I knew I was leaking.
Explain that.
I knew the anointing was on me for transformation. And so anybody that's close to me, man, the law of relationships says that you will become the 4 people that you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
So I understand why people want to, like, not boasting or bragging, but people who really, really want growth, I understand why I connect with them. Because what's on me starts flowing. Yeah. And it's just not with a relationship between a husband and wife, me and you. I'm talking about my relationships, period. It makes sense because you become who you are the closest to. So therefore, I knew that the anointing of transformation was on me. And I knew this. If you get close to me, and especially if you want me, what's in me gonna get on you? Yeah. What's on me gonna change you? What's on me gonna change your appetites? What's on me gonna change your perspective? What's on me gonna change your pursuit? What's on me gonna change what you see? Right. Are you with me? What's on you gonna make you look in you? My God. Did y'all catch that? Yeah. What's on me gonna make you look in you to see if you got what it takes to bring what you see in me out of me?
So the other part of that was, that was my part. I had this thing where my spiritual relationship with God needed to be sharpened. Yep. Where Pastor James, on the other hand, he had a very sporadic, unstable behavior. Absolutely. Where I was like, I don't know, because stability means everything to me in life.
I was living unstable life. I was living basically from job to job, from lick to lick.
Yeah, and that was not it for me.
Yeah, and that wasn't it. No. And so I thought I was living by faith.
You sure did. And I was like, no, this faith, Pastor
Let's
James.
talk about this 2 seconds, 2 minutes. I thought I was living by faith. What do you mean, Pastor James? I'm trying to take the leap of faith every time an opportunity comes because I'm trying to hit it financially. Yeah. And I didn't know that faith is not faith because you're in an unstable place looking for a lick.
My God.
I didn't know that faith was I get to a place of stability, then God calls me out and I take the leap.
My God, my God.
Because at that point, I got to trust him.
Yeah.
So a lot of things people call in faith is not faith. It's a place. It's instability.
Yeah.
It's you living in a place of instability and you hadn't made it to a place of stability.
Right.
So now you don't have to. And in a place of stability, now I really got to trust God.
Yeah.
But in a place of instability, I ain't got to trust.
Yeah.
I'm just taking a leap. And if I fall, guess what? All things work together for the good.
Right.
I'm trying to hit it because I don't have nothing stable. And so my life was like this.
Yeah.
I'm spiritual.
Yeah. You
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not carnal. I'm living like this Christianity.
Right.
Up this day, down this day, up this day, down this day. Not in my emotions, not in my spirituality, but in my finances.
Yeah.
And watch that. And if it's there, it's going to be in my leadership too. Because I can only lead at the place that I'm stable in.
That's so good. That's so good.
Are you with me? Right. So I can't fix it if I don't face it. So the reason why I'm saying this now is because if there is a level of instability in your life, you need to face it.
Right.
Because if you face it, then you say, man, the number one priority, she taught me this. The number one priority for your life should be stability.
Yeah.
You got to get stable.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you get stable, then you can take the leap. Come on.
Yeah, because your prayers sound different when you're from a stable place.
Yeah.
So, Pastor James, would you advise a single person if they see someone and they see maybe these traits that aren't right yet? Do you tell them to continue to pursue? And would you advise somebody to continue to get engaged? Or would you tell them to pump the brakes until they see the person moving in the right direction?
Depending on their stability.
Okay.
That dictates and determines a whole lot.
Okay.
See, because here comes the next thing, babe. When a woman sees potential in a man, she never take into consideration to ask herself this. What I see in him, do I have the tools to pull it out of him? She don't really take it into consideration.
And she should, because if you are a helpmeet, how you going to help who you don't know?
Absolutely.
So in order for me to help you, I've got to be able to know you and to be able to see what's in you that maybe you just don't even realize, because I'm trying to find something to constantly help.
Because, babe, to a sense, let's be real. I was a project too. And you had to see if you had some tools to begin to pull out something in me that you saw. You saw vision.
Yeah.
It was two people that I met in my life that I know without a shadow of a doubt when I met them, they saw something.
Yeah.
Two people, and both of them changed my life from the top of my head to the sole of my feet, right? The one I talked, the pharmaceutical guy, when he saw me, as soon as he's been coming here, when he saw me, as soon as he saw me, he saw vision.
Right.
As soon as Tiffany saw me, she saw vision.
Right.
And so therefore, this is what I admire about both of them. What they saw, they both had tools.
Yeah.
They had tools to pull out the best out of a person. And that's the assignment about relationships and marriages. When you get connected, the purpose is, I'm giving it to you.
Right.
When you get connected, the purpose is make sure you have what you need to pull the best out of them. Because that's an investment.
I got to say this.
Come on.
Because I did not marry a project.
No, I don't.
No. But I've got to hear that, because I want women to hear that, because our emotions can make us overlook some very vital, very serious things. You were a person that was becoming a better version of yourself, and you were already in motion.
For sure.
You were in motion, but in motion from a place where everything was just all over the place.
Sure.
There was nothing like, you had no A, B, C, D, E, F, G. As a matter of fact, what was your slogan? I got one shot, no other options, and no plan B. And so he lived by that. He didn't have a plan B. And now that I think about it, I'm like, he needs a plan B. I mean, he literally needs an A, B, C, D, E. And so what happened?
By God.
Yeah, it worked out for you. Yeah. But what happened was, I saw somebody that just needed structure. Yeah. And so my business background was like, if he just tweaks these few areas and we can put some structure around this, what does your speaker's rider look like? When people are calling you out to come and speak, what does your contract look like? So we've got to be careful when we're talking about a project, because it wasn't for me to put you together. It was for me to come in and help organize what you already had going on.
I understand the fact of what you're saying.
Yeah.
You articulated that clearly. But the truth of the matter is, in an inch of it, that's a part of the whole scope. A part of it is, you got to bring the best out of a person.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be a job.
Yeah.
I ain't even going to say project. It's going to be a job, right? But at the same time, you're absolutely right. Do you want to take up on a job that is entirely out of your league when you can't stop or you can't change, you can't start a person's emotional life?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. I get it. So once again, I just feel like you interject yourself with the person where you see them have something going on. And ladies, you look and you say, how can I help him meet this
Yeah,
goal?
for
Or how
sure.
do I help him meet this
Babe,
vision?
that may be the problem in marriages too. Just as we talking about it, one of the problems in marriages is you may have married a person and forgot and didn't take into consideration how to bring the best out of him in this situation, in this area.
That's so
and so the
good.
reason why there is an infection and there is some leaking and everything is going in a toxic place is because you didn't have the tools. You said I do before you discovered your own tools.
My God.
Come
My
on.
God.
Come on. So watch this. He was thinking in terms of you were supposed to help me with this, but you could never identify if you had the tools to be able to help.
Right.
So there was no articulation on either side. The man didn't tell you that you're supposed to be able to help me in order to build this.
Right.
And you didn't know if you had the tools. So since nobody said it, we didn't know until stuff started cracking.
My God.
And when stuff started cracking, now you looking for the man to fix it and the man looking for the woman to fix it, and nobody articulated it.
Yeah.
So one of the problems very well may be in the midst of marriage that you married and didn't even realize that you were signing up for a job assignment to fix some stuff that was already cracked.
Ooh, Lord.
Yeah. This ain't just for singles. Because I'm looking at
Right.
the crowd, I'm gazing this, and I'm catching the flow of, I wish they'll talk about something else. No,
Right.
let's get right in this situation right here.
Right.
See, because you overlooked some stuff, you
Yeah.
overrode some stuff, and then you downplayed it, you minimized it. Now foundation starting to crack.
So, Pastor James, let me ask you this while we're there. I'm going to go ahead and jump a little bit into the married part. What happens when you did not have the tools? You did not understand what it took to actually be married. Now you're in it and you're struggling. How does the one go back and rebuild a cracked foundation?
Two things. Number one, I got to face the fact of, I got to ask myself this question. I got to be real with myself. Do I have a desire to pull down everything that we just built and to redig the foundation?
I got to explain something real quick, because when I think about a foundation, I think about real estate.
Come on, baby.
We had a home that had a cracked foundation that was cement. Over top of the cement, there were wood floors, and then on top of the wood floors, there was padding, and then on top of the padding, there was carpet. In order for us to be able to get inside of the broken foundation, of the cracked foundation, we had to literally go in and tear everything up, get it back down to the cement level, take off all the woodwork that was going around, like the floorboards. It was a complete destruction and tear down of an entire property in order for the in order for the foundation to be laid correctly.
Y'all acknowledge
yes,
that
sir.
something is going down, something going wrong in the cracks of the foundation.
Because you know why? Because we did an inspection.
Yeah.
Married people, how often are we doing inspections of our relationships? How are we getting together to just do a check-in? Like, hey, babe, are you good? Because just because a man may not be saying anything, that doesn't mean that he's good. Often he may have checked out and you were just so unaware because he hasn't said anything that you don't realize that it may just be like, hey, let's talk about this. Like, is everything good? How are you doing? Before we can literally even say that we are going to check on a cracked foundation, we got to first do the inspection.
My God.
Then at that point, we've got to talk and say, we got to count the cost. This is going to be ugly. There is going to be some times where we're going to have some conversations that are going to be so hard and so uncomfortable that we may leave therapy, we may leave counseling, we may leave coaching, and it may be where we are angry with each other. But you have to remember, the reason why we're going through this hard season is because we're trying to repair the foundation.
Yeah.
There are more and more marriages that want to put a Band-Aid over stuff rather than pulling up all of the stuff to actually go in and really repair the foundation.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so you gotta be very strong and very wise enough to acknowledge the fact that we started wrong. Both of us have to make the decision to see that we made the wrong choice starting wrong. So
Right.
now when both of us admit this, both of us get power.
Yeah.
If you never admit the fact that you made the wrong choice to start it wrong and you in denial, you ain't going to have no power to go in that foundation to begin to dig it up and refix it.
So, Pastor James, let's get applicable because I feel like this is good for singles and I feel like it's good for married people.
Number 1, inspection.
Inspection, okay.
Number 2, acknowledgement. Number 3, desire. Number 4, admit that we made the wrong choice. And number 5, let's get to work.
Yeah. And so what does let's getting to work look like?
Yeah, you already know. What let's get to work mean. It's time to throw down some stuff. It's time to tear up some stuff. It's time to uproot some stuff. Let's see whatever it is that we overlooked. Let's go back and readdress this. Let's see exactly how do we fix this.
Right.
Because if we never address how do we fix it, then we can't get the creativity or the wisdom to be able to know what we need to fix.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And so I'm trying to think of an example.
Yeah, but I have an example right now. So when I met Pastor James, our backgrounds are very different. He grew up in a culture where it was like he knew how to take care of himself. It was like, this is what I do. Very, very independent. And then he went and, he met God in prison and had this amazing relationship with God. So Pastor James was really, really strong spiritually, but very, very weak emotionally, meaning that when I met you,
control my
no, I don't. But that's what I'm saying. You are. I'm meaning emotionally from the standpoint of affection. From the standpoint, we've had this conversation before. Well, but I'm saying, but affection comes from the place. I'm thinking when I say soul, when I say emotions, I'm thinking about the soul, the mind, the will, the emotions, the personality. I'm thinking about all those things.
Our emotions are affections toward a person,
right?
And then you controlling your own,
right?
So it's 2 parts. You're absolutely right.
So meaning that Pastor James could do things. He could build me up strong in the Lord. But when it came time for him to build me up strong and like, hey, babe, you look beautiful today. Or like, hey, babe, let me just cuddle you. Let me kiss on you. Let me hug you. So that you went ahead of me. So what happened was in the moment, I'm like, I'm strong spiritually. But like, okay, like every time I tell you I'm having a bad day, I don't want a Bible scripture. Sometimes I just want you to come and hug me, kiss on me, tell me it's going to be okay. So I inspected, I'm going through the steps. I inspected that we had a slight issue where my emotional needs felt like they were being kind of not taken care of.
It's getting pretty hot up here, y'all.
So what I did after that, I came and I had a conversation with you. And I'm saying, I'm noticing, listen, in order for me to really thrive the way that I need to, as your wife, because Pastor James has a very strong, and it can be a hard persona if you don't really know him. And so I'm like, at some point, I need a softer side of you because, I'm your wife. And so when I talked to you about that, we had the inspection, we had the hard conversation. So to make it applicable, it required you to die to an old version of yourself to resurrect into who I needed you to be as my husband. So sometimes when your spouse is pointing out to you what you may need, you can't lay on that thing, well, this is how I am. I grew up without a lot of love. I don't really know what it feels like to be affectionate. That's just not really who I am. Rather than making the excuses, you rise to the occasion and you became that affectionate, loving, affirming husband that I needed. And I feel like that's
so good.
If you think about that, happened like in year 2 of our marriage, because for so long, I'm gonna go a little deeper. When you've gone in relationships and you've been through a lot, I was so busy celebrating that he wasn't abusive, that even in that moment for a season, I forgot that, Tiffany, you are so much more than your dysfunction. If you are only judging somebody or you are only seeing somebody based on them not abusing you, what about the other parts of you that need nurturing? What about the other parts of you that need love? So for so long, I was praising the fact that I was finally just in something peaceful, that there were other parts of me that I didn't realize there were still needs that I needed from my husband. But if we would not have inspected that foundation, that's why so many times you see in marriages where there is like this big gap, or like there's like this big wedge, or like where infidelity comes in, or things come in where there's conversations that shouldn't be going on. There are some needs that people, that a husband and wife need in marriage. And if your spouse won't give it to you, the enemy will whisper in your ear, well, then get it from somebody else. Or if this person isn't talking to you, that's what makes the social media age so dangerous, because when we are angry with our spouse or the person that we're dating, rather than wanting to deal with the cracked foundation, we would rather just go and replace that person with a new face, with a new name, just because we're not willing to do the hard work.
Good.
Yeah.
And one of the most dangerous statements that will destroy a relationship and destroy a marriage that is supposed to be headed towards growth is this statement right here. This just how I am. You knew how I was before you chose me.
My God. Yeah.
This just how I am. You knew who I was before you chose me. Basically, you saying you're not going to change.
Right.
Right? But you don't realize you signed up for growth.
Yeah.
You don't realize you signed up for maturity. You don't realize that you signed up for the two people to become one. And so when you say this is who I am, and you just basically got to take it, the thing is that what most people don't realize is that they're putting and imposing a self-inflicted curse on themselves. It's a word curse. This is just how I am. This is just who I am. And you knew this before you chose me. Right. So when you put this invisible barrier that blocks the blessings of growth to flow freely upon your life, you are stopping and you are infecting the marriage from moving into the next dimension of growth.
And you know what else happens, Pastor James? When you take that attitude, that's just how I am, you show up to work that way. You show up to church that way. You show up in your community that way. And then you wonder why this particular person, everybody has this preconceived notion of you. It is because you are presenting yourself in a way that you've been able to get away with it for so long at home, that now you present yourself that way to every aspect of your life.
Babe, and you will never be able to get the marriage right with that statement.
My God.
You will never be able to get relationships right with that statement. Why? Because relationship consists of two people.
Right.
You want them to change, but you just saying this is just how I am, and it's just what it's going to be. You knew it before you chose me. So therefore, you want them to change, but you're not trying to do anything to change.
My God.
You cursing your own change by the words that you are releasing out of your own mouth. Anytime you hear that in any type of relationship, friendships, family, marriage, you already know you got a war on your hand at that point. And you got a decision to make. Why? Because you've learned today that they've cursed themselves.
My God.
Didn't nobody else curse them. They cursed themselves.
They curse themselves to the point where they put a hindrance where they're not even able to grow. They've basically become their own glass ceiling. They can't grow because of the words that are hovering over their head.
I don't know why God telling me to say this, but you already know for somebody, you know what the problem is. You or your spouse is making the statement to say, this is just how I am. So you basically saying, I don't want to grow.
Yeah.
I'm not going to grow. This is what it's going to be. And so if you can't die out of it like this is just what it's going to be.
And you know the crazy part is sometimes we may make a statement internally and never even let it come outside. It never comes out of our mouths. Yeah. But the life that I live lets you know that I'm never trying to change.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be this way. So Pastor James, I got another question from you as we shift the conversation a little bit. So I know that now that in order for me to be able to try to make this work, when I feel like maybe I've married somebody and we've hit this point, I want to go back to the singles a little bit. What happens when you are trying to be in this place of spirituality? You don't want to cross over superficially. Mm-hmm. How important is attraction in a relationship? When you are dating somebody, they can maybe be this really great person with a great big heart and they love God, but the attraction just isn't there. Then also, that's for the singles. What happens when you marry somebody and who they were when you first married them? Now, also, they're starting to change. Maybe a woman has had kids, or maybe a husband has just gotten a busier work schedule. How important is attraction in a relationship for it to really, really thrive without it going over into being superficial?
You putting a lot on me. You putting a lot on me
you
at
don't.
one time. I'm trying to grab it all. So starting at the first one.
Yeah.
Then we'll go into the second one. So basically, the question is, say it one
how
more time.
important is attraction where it does not override my spirituality? Yeah. But I don't want to be superficial either. But I want to be attracted to him.
I think that's an individual question to an individual person. Because that thing is different for every single person. So if attraction is your number one priority, just make sure that you be able to handle whatever comes along with attraction being first, right? Biblically, you need to be able to hear the voice of God to dictate and determine what your attractions really are. Because you can be attracted in this season and not know that you're about to grow into somebody else. And when you grow into somebody else, you gain a whole nother appetite for what attraction is.
My God.
Am I making any sense?
Yeah, can you maybe give an example of what that is?
So what I was attracted to in 25, I'm not attracted to in 35. Right? I've grown and I've been through some other experiences, and what used to make me happy and laugh back then make me fight now. I'm serious, right? Because what used to quench my thirst don't quench my thirst anymore.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So therefore, I think you need to really see, because a lot of times when you put a whole lot of emphasis on attraction, what you're also putting emphasis on unknowingly is a familiar spirit. Right? And so when you got a familiar spirit, this spirit is familiar with your appetites. This spirit is familiar with your attractions.
My God.
This spirit is familiar with your aspirations. This spirit is familiar with exactly what you want, how you want it, where you want it, how you want it to flow.
Yeah.
Right? So at this point, I'm saying that attraction is my number one focus. And in all actuality, I just think that the familiar spirit is. I've made a union and a covenant with a familiar spirit. And so therefore, I'm not dating or I'm not getting connected to a person that don't remind me of what I used to do, who I used to be, and how I used to flow.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
We can't really articulate that, because a lot of times we really, really don't outgrow familiar spirits. What was familiar at 20 is still familiar at 40.
So how do you outgrow a familiar
You got to
spirit?
identify it.
Okay.
You got to identify that my type killing me. You got to identify that my appetite is destroying me. You got to identify that what I've fallen in love with that got me here is the thing that's eating me alive. If I never identify that, right? And I just say, this is just what I am.
Yeah.
This is just who I am. This is just what I want. This is how I like it. And it is what it is. I like what I like. I want what I want. I love who I love. You can't help who you fall in love with. All these lies,
Right.
right? They lies that's keeping you bonded to a familiar spirit.
So let me ask you this. Is attraction important at all when dating?
Yeah, I'm saying, so listen, I'm not saying it's not important. I'm saying that for every individual is different. Like the priority was first is different, because maybe at 25, attraction was the number one thing. But maybe you got 45 and you don't care how they look. You just want to know if they love you. I'm saying.
Yeah, I got
because
you.
I'm serious. Y'all laughing, but pursuits change at ages.
Yeah, they do.
Right? What I used to pursue at 25, I might not pursue it at 45, because because a lot of people start thinking, I ain't got a whole lot before me,
Yeah.
like I used to have behind me.
And you know, the other thing is, you can also grow in the area of attraction.
Yeah, for sure.
You can meet someone and maybe you weren't really attracted to their physical appearance when you first met them. But over time, as you get to know the person, as you get to grow with the person,
Yeah.
when you get to see who they really are and their personality and how they're treating you good, over a period of time, what you thought you weren't
Yeah.
attracted to, God starts opening up your spirit. And now there's a spirit to spirit connection. And I'm no longer thinking just from my flesh, but now I'm really am attracted, because it's so much more than the outward appearance.
Yeah, because in 25, looks was the thing.
My God.
Now at 40, communication is the thing.
My God. Yeah.
Looks used to be attractive. Now, an articulate type of speaker is an attractive,
Right.
whatever the situation
Right.
may be. Yeah, back in the day, looks used to be attractive, but now discipline is attractive.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so beauty and attraction is in the eyes of the beholder.
Right.
Are you with me? What appealed to you then may not appeal to you right now. Right? And so in the next season, that's why I'm saying you got to get connected to your source to know who he's changing you into. Because if he changed you into somebody different in the next season, but you choose based on the last season, then you choosing based off where you was, and you're not choosing based off where you're going.
Yeah.
Right? And I try to teach people, never choose based on where you are. Always try to choose based on where you're going. Have a forward thinking.
But that's the thing. If you don't know where you're going, you don't know how to make the selection.
Yeah, absolutely.
So some of us are choosing, and we're choosing because the truth of the matter is we are going in a cycle because we don't know where we're going.
Yeah.
All we know is a familiar spirit because we're going like this. We're just going in a cycle. It's round and round and round.
This is the reason why you got to know you first.
Yeah.
You got to have a relationship with you first before you go into a relationship with somebody else.
Right.
You got to make sure you're whole. You got to make sure you're strong. You got to make sure you're wise. You got to make sure you're mature. If you don't know you, then you're about to put yourself in the midst of somebody else. I hope they know them.
Right.
And if they know them, then you're going to be a burden to them if you don't know you.
Let me move this over to marriage a little bit. What happens when you got married? The attraction was there, but now just in life, the physical things are starting to change. How do you teach a couple how to get back to the place of intimacy?
Yeah.
How to get back to the place of attraction? Because sometimes we're talking about familiar spirits from the past.
Yeah.
Some of us are too familiar with our spouses. I have one prayer that I pray, and I've told you all this often.
That's so good.
I'm like, Lord, never allow me to become too familiar with my husband that I forget the anointing that's on his life. And so many of us are with people, and of course, we're doing life with them daily. The two are becoming one,
Yeah.
but the spirit of familiarity can make me forget that there is still responsibilities as your wife to still date you, to still be your girlfriend, to still dress up for you, to still be able to put myself out
so
there where
good.
you are still attracted to me. Not even about the weight or the size that I am, but it's crazy how we can present ourselves to the world for strangers, but we won't present ourselves to our husbands.
So good.
It's one of those things where sometimes, and I'm guilty of it too, you can just get like, and that's because I'm actually comfortable, and I know that you love
it's
me.
Natural. We doing life.
But
For sure.
but it's also the point where I'm always keeping in the forefront of my mind, this is my husband, and I'm still your bride. How do you tell a couple to get back to that place of intimacy?
Man, our desire is everything, right? From the start, right off the top.
Can I pause? You keep saying the word desire.
Yeah.
What does one do to even develop a desire?
Yeah, recognize the fact that I'm too familiar, this too mundane, and something is off. I don't have the spice. I can't feel a spice nowhere at no time. You got to recognize this within yourself, right? And at that point, when you recognize that within yourself, you got to admit the fact, like, all right, God, like, I need some change, right? And one of the ways that I change is I put new stuff in me. I start putting new wisdom in me. I start putting new appetites in me. I start putting new vision in me. I start putting new things in me because the old has ran its course. It's ran out. And so the hard part about this is we can't take a break.
Right.
You can't walk away and take a break and then be reminded of what you used to have. You can't do that in a marriage. You got to find a way to dig within yourself to die.
Yeah.
Because the only way we're going to get something new is that some old in me got to die. The only way I'm going to feel something new is that some old in me got to die. I got to recognize that I've gotten attracted and I become one with some old, right? And I need to develop some new because I cannot have a new intimacy when I'm still stuck on old appeals.
I want to say you got to do things like plan a date night. For a man, just to give you some suggestions, try this. Look at your wife and see, this is what I would like for her to look like. This is what my attraction. I'm going to go to the mall and I'm going to pick her out the outfit that I would love to see her in. Then I'm going to call her hairstylist and I'm going to get her hair done in the way that I like seeing her hair done.
You're going to cultivate.
Then I'm going to find her makeup artist and then I'm going to tell her, baby, go home. I've laid out your clothes for you.
Yeah.
This is the time for your appointment. Then after this, I'm going to come pick you up, and then we're going to go on a date.
Yeah.
And then we may do a staycation.
Yeah.
We're going to go somewhere, and we're going to find ways to get back intimate with one another. But the thing is, I'm not going to just do it. I'm going to romance you from the time you wake up to the time until the time we get ready to go. I'm going to send you a sweet text every single hour.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that I already start playing with your mind intimately before it even gets to the place of intimacy. It is a thing with men need to realize women are emotional beings. So before the actual act of intercourse even happens, can you intercede with my mind throughout the day before evening even comes, before we get ready to do what we're going to come to do? And then for ladies, let me tell you all this. I heard the greatest advice that has stuck with me my entire marriage. They were talking about how sex is really, really important in marriage. And sometimes the spirit of familiarity will make you not want to even engage in it, maybe the children, and you're tired. This lady stood up. She says, ladies, I have a suggestion I want to give you. She said, I want you to do it until you get into it. Meaning that when it is time to do it, you may not feel like it in the moment. But if you do it until you get into it, Intimacy with your husband is one of the greatest things that God has given us. We talk about this often in fornication, but we never talk about the beauty of it in marriage. That is the gift that God gave to husbands and wives. So the first thing the enemy will do is, how do I keep them from them even coming together to join? Not to go too far, but I'm in here talking to adults this morning. When a man enters inside of a woman, he's releasing life. When you are releasing life into a woman and the two are becoming one, the mixtures of us coming together is really what is creating the life of our marriage. Yeah. So if there is no life being released inside of me, how is the marriage going to live?
So good.
So when we're talking about creating intimacy or the attraction is off, even with that, babe, a beautiful thing that I've been trying to get Pastor James and I on one accord to do, maybe we go to the gym together. Maybe we walk the neighborhood together. Maybe we start really doing some applicable things, because it's one thing to talk about intimacy. It's another thing to be proactive about intimacy. Yeah. You've got to put some actions behind what you're saying. After I die, then what? Well, then plan a date night after you died. Now you done died to the fact that you just want to sit at home and watch the game. Okay, we got to die to that. After I die to that, what is the next thing that I've got to do? There's got to be some action behind the words.
So what I'm hearing is that the intentionality produces the intimacy.
Absolutely, 100%.
So the death takes place inside of the intentionality. If I'm not intentional, because in my intentionality, then my feelings I'm going to face my feelings in my intentionality.
Yeah.
Because when I get intentional on going to buy something specific, when I get intentional on cooking breakfast, when I get intentional on making the staycation plans, when I get intentional, watch this, things that's going to be coming up against me, and it's going to be trying to stop me and hold me and say, I don't want to do this.
Right.
But when I do what I'm supposed to do, when it's time to do it, when I don't feel like doing it, and I'm being intentional, my intentionality is going to destroy what's old and is going to produce intimacy.
Yes, sir.
Are you with me?
Yes.
So that's solid. Yeah, that's solid. Intentionality is everything when you're talking about intimacy.
I don't think that you can have the two separate. I believe in order to be intimate, you got to be intentional enough to even know what intimacy looks like to your partner. So I gave an example of maybe going and buying something. Maybe that's not your partner's speed. Maybe their speed is just laying on the couch and watching a movie and ordering dinner in. But you cannot be intentional with somebody that you haven't studied.
Whatever their love language may be.
It's exactly. Absolutely. But you've got to be able to study.
Because for some people, all you need to do is just go wash the car.
There you go. Or cut the grass.
I'm saying cut the grass.
Yes.
Yeah, for real talk.
That's my love language.
Yeah, or go clean up the room.
Yeah. I'm laughing because
pick your clothes up off the floor.
There you go. Tell your business, Pastor. Tell your business. That's right. That's right. Because Pastor,
it's my house.
Right. But so this past week, as we get ready to close this, one of the levels of intimacy is that we had this really hard winter, and so the grass wasn't really growing. But the yard still needed to be manicured. And so Pastor James has a very, very busy schedule. And so the grass had not been cut, and I was just like, man, I was getting irritated, and so I drove off to go to work.
Again today. Yeah. It's dying again today.
But
the grass about to start dying today. Go ahead.
Y'all see how he is? So from there, I left out. I did not know. I went to work, didn't know what was going on. By the time I came home, because Pastor James knows, I said, like, man, the yard looks crazy. He had done our yard and had manicured it and just pulled up the weeds and cut it, and it looked beautiful. And in that moment, it felt so intimate because I'm like, he heard me, he saw that it bothered me, and he made it right. Intimacy can look small, just like that. Why you got your arm all paused like that?
I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm saying,
because it's gonna be another grass not gonna grow for another month. But
did Pastor James tell y'all to die? Exactly.
Since she asked, I'm trying to make a point.
Right.
Since that meant so much to her, if it matters to you,
yeah,
it matters to me.
Yeah, and it got done. So y'all, right now we are going to open this for questions. We do have one online, but if there is somebody in house, you can approach the mic. Right now, the question that we do have online is, how can one overcome the fear of the unknown, embrace change, and keep faith as the two are becoming one in a new relationship?
You can go ahead.
How can one overcome the fear of the unknown, embrace change, and keep faith as the two are becoming one in a new relationship? I think the question is, the first thing is, you're going to do everything that you just asked me how to do it. You're going to do it by faith. You are going to overcome the fear of the unknown by faith. You are going to embrace change by faith. We think that faith is something that we need to be able to touch or to grab. For some reason, we have distorted what faith is.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's going to take faith for me to be able to realize that, God, this time I'm really, really standing out and trusting you. It's not faith if you know the known. That's the thing. If what we're calling faith is really not faith, faith makes me go out in an area where it is unknown, and I've got to trust God. You've got to trust God and know that you are God's girl or that you're God's man, and that this time around, literally, while you're stepping out in the unknown, you're going to do it by faith. Yeah. You're going to do it by prayer. You're going to do it by meditation. You're going to do it by discerning the spirit. Yeah. You're going to step out this time, not in your own power nor in your own might, but you're going to do it by his spirit. You've got to do it. Everybody, we keep saying this, everybody is looking for a method. When the truth of the matter is, you're not going to learn how to step out in the unknown by a method. You're going to learn how to step out in the unknown by an experience. Yep. You've got to be okay with taking the leap and saying that, you know what, God, all things will work together for my good. Absolutely. And I'm going to take the leap, not because I'm choosing this from a carnal place or I'm choosing it from a fleshly place, but I'm going to put myself out there, and I know that you're going to be with me, and this time you're going to help me be able to discern to make sure that I'm making the right decisions. You got to step out there and do it.
Everything you do it by faith.
Yeah.
You get saved by faith.
Yes.
You get healed by faith. You get delivered by faith. You get made whole by faith. Watch this. You go into a new relationship by faith.
Yes.
Everything you do is by faith.
We're That's the reason sitting why up here by faith.
You're sitting here by faith.
Yeah, we got married by faith.
That's the reason why the most important message that a new believer need to get locked in his heart is the message of faith. Because if you don't know how to operate by faith, move by faith, the purpose of faith, then you're going to live a lopsided life as you're trying to walk this life with Christ. Because everything about relationship, you got to trust.
By faith.
That he's going to be who he say he's going to be. You got to trust that she's going to be who she says she's going to be. Right? I mean, it is what it is. Like, yeah.
Not to
they lied. Well, you chose by faith to get in it.
Yeah. But you know what, Pastor James? This is why it's imperative that while we're dating, or especially when we're about to say we're getting married, that the person that you're with has the Holy Spirit in them. Because this is the thing. I trust you because of the God that's in you. Yeah. I trust you because the Holy Spirit is living inside of you, acting as your counseling, acting as your counselor, acting as your advocate, acting as your comforter. So it's the God that when I'm praying, I'm praying and I'm making intercessions for you as your wife because it's the God that's living inside of you.
Absolutely.
So that's how you can do it by faith, unafraid, if you know that the person that you're with literally has the Spirit of God in them.
And a new relationship definitely is unknown.
Yeah.
If you are afraid to tackle the fear of if the fear of the unknown is going to hinder you, then you ain't ready for the next level. No. Because you don't even know what the next level calling for either.
My God.
So everything, you're going to have to do everything by faith.
Yeah. All right, Sabrina, question over here.
And we can invite anybody else to have a question too. You can come to the microphone and ask it.
Good morning.
Good
I
morning.
believe that you should be intentional in every
I can't
area.
hear you.
You got to put your mic up to the microphone.
I believe, good morning, you should be intentional in every area of your life. But I'm talking on the perspective of marriage, where you have to input what you want to get the output, the results. So how important is premarital counseling and investing in counseling throughout your marriage? It doesn't mean that your marriage has to have a problem or anything like that, but premarital marriage counseling, and also counseling, like check-in throughout the marriage.
Your inspection period. I think it's major.
Let me say this about that as it pertains to how important it is to investing in premarital counseling. Let me say this. If you're going to come to premarital counseling with preconceived notions, don't come. If you're going to come to premarital counseling with your mind already made up before you get there, don't come. Right? Because you're coming to get coaching, consulting, and counseling, wise counsel, because in the multitude of counsel, there is safety.
Yes, sir.
Right? But if you got your mind made up, it ain't nothing we can say that's going to be able to change your mind and give you the wisdom on how to make steps ahead that's going to be fruitful and productive.
Right.
Are you with me? The biggest problem with premarital counseling is this. Everybody know to go do it, but don't nobody know how to come in it.
That's a heavy statement.
Yeah,
you know
buddy.
how to come and do it.
Everybody know how to. Yeah, everybody know. I know I got to get premarital counseling, right? But you don't come open.
Right.
And you don't come submitted. You don't come looking for wisdom. You don't come to the marriage counseling. Watch this. Hoping that somebody see your blind spots. Are you with me? Because watch this, you come into premarital counseling so we can give you exactly what you need to get prepared before you make this step.
Right.
You may have a blind spot that is so detrimental that we may tell you not right now.
Right.
It ain't time. But watch this, I've spent the money.
Right.
I've already started investing in the wedding. We've already made the announcement. We've already made this. Well, you're doing something. What you come to counseling for?
Right. It's almost like you want somebody to come and co-sign with your decision.
That's exactly what it is.
And one of the dangerous things about that is that if we can break you up in a marriage counseling, in a premarital session, you're not ready for marriage.
Yeah, we don't need to keep telling people that either. They just need to happen.
But no, but what happens
because then
is
people put up their best faith for it.
That's the thing. You can. That's the you. Eventually, you're gonna find out if it's a wolf or not. At some point, you've got to be able to see if I can't accept the blind spots and hear what somebody is telling me in premarital counseling. More than likely, I'm about to go into this marriage, and I'm not going to even be able to receive what my spouse is telling me because I'm not ready to admit my blind spots.
Absolutely.
I think premarital counseling is major. I can't imagine somebody getting married without getting some godly counsel. I also think the second part to that question is for marriages. I think that marriages should always have check-ins, and it should not be just because we are now having a problem.
For sure.
So now we've got to get somebody to come and talk to us.
Without a
but
shadow of a doubt.
it can also be, let's just check in. The thing is, sometimes we only do therapy when there's some trauma attached to it. Sometimes it's good to have conversations that I'm already learning some things about myself so that when the enemy tries to come in and kill, steal, and destroy, I already have some tools to work with. I think throughout marriage, you've got to have a support system. That can look like being around other healthy married couples. That could be like doing life with other people in your church or in your community that have the same type of goals, and you all know that they have the same foundation of God. I think that it is mandatory that you don't isolate when you become a couple and be like this, because what I've also noticed with couples is when they start having problems, people like to get very, very private, and they like to protect their relationship. So let me tell you what happens with that. You get very private and in this place of protection, and the enemy starts making you think that nobody else has these type of problems. This type of problem is just so heavy. Ooh, you made the wrong decision. You shouldn't have married that person. Not realizing that there are 50 more wives that are dealing with the exact same problem, and your situation isn't that unique. Your situation isn't that horrible. It's just the growing pains of life. We've got to know that in all aspects of relationships, whenever we're trying to grow, shedding and dying and for something to be resurrected, Pastor James, it's not comfortable.
Yeah, and I believe I have a prophetic word for a couple. I believe this is God all day and all day. I have never said this before in my life, but I hear this clear as day. For couples, there is a difference between fellowshipping with couples and gleaning from couples. Right? The problem is we glean from who we fellowship with. And when you fellowship with couples, you fellowshipping with them, having relationships with them, with people on your level. But you glean from couples who are ahead of you.
Yeah. That have fruit.
Who got fruit, right? The biggest problem is and has been is that we gleaning from who we fellowshipping with.
Yeah.
When we should be fellowshipping, just having conversations, just kicking it or whatever. Watch this. And then we start listening to what they're going through and listening to their advice. Well, they on my level.
Right.
They can't get me out of nothing.
Right.
We're in the same thing. But when I take it up, now I can listen to wisdom that got the ability to bring me up.
Right.
And out of what it's in.
Yeah.
And up here is going to challenge me. Yeah. Right down here is just going to tickle me.
Right.
Yeah, we talking and tickling. It's all good.
Right.
Like, I'm serious. I'm serious. This it's clear as day in my mind. One of the biggest problems, because a lot of people, y'all need to get with some other couples. You absolutely right. But get with the other couples to know what you're getting.
Right.
Get with the other couples to know without a shadow of a doubt.
To do life.
I'm fellowshipping here. But when I get with these couples, I'm gleaning and learning here.
Right.
It's a major difference. It's a major difference. I know that's for somebody.
And I know for a fact that there is no way that I would even want to do what we're doing if God did not grace us for it,
for sure.
and God did not give us fruit behind it. Sometimes we are so ready to get in something and to be able to testify and to put our marriage on the line or put it out there for people and put it out there as a couple, not realizing that when you start pouring and there's not a healthy foundation for you to be in, you'll start pouring from your cup when you really should be pouring from your overflow. Yep. And then you wonder why when you leave a situation, you feel so drained. It's because you've poured out to other couples, but your foundation at home is not good. Right now, when I'm sitting up here doing with you, this just feels like a regular everyday life. This is just what we do normally at home because we are pouring from the overflow, not from the cup. So relationships take real work. We had some single ladies ask us the other day. They said, we are so tired of hearing when we're talking to married people, the first thing they tell singles is, ooh, marriage is so hard. It is just so hard. And they say when they hear it, it makes them feel like why should we even want to get married? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, like, why do people think that marriage is just so hard? And why is that picture literally ingrained in people's minds?
People think marriage is so hard because they're going into marriage ill-equipped. Right? Meaning they're not equipped with the tools. They're not anointed for the marriage. And God didn't put his hands on it.
Yeah, he didn't put it together.
A lot of times when God don't put his hands on it and you ill-equipped, then when you get into marriage, you want to do what you want to do, but then you want God to come in and fix what you've already made a bad mistake about going in.
Right.
And so that's the reason why marriages
are so hard.
Right? Then you listen to a couple like us, and then the first thing the devil tell you is this is not possible.
Right.
It's unattainable.
Right.
Why? Because you've been hearing all this fellowship with all these lower level conversations about how bad it is, and you ain't listening to this type of wisdom to make the right decisions at the right time for you in your life so it won't be as hard. Right?
Yeah.
So and then here comes the next, you ain't taking into consideration. Is your identity intact? Is his identity intact? Because when we got two people that got two healthy identities, watch this, the goal is peace.
Yes.
So if the goal is peace in me and the goal is peace in you, we're going to create a way to have peace.
You right about that,
A lot of times we go into marriages and not have goals of peace. A lot of times we go into marriages thinking it's going to be the white picket fence in the house and that's going to make me look good. Yeah. It's one thing for something to make you look good. It's another thing for you to truly be good.
That's so
true.
true.
You be good when peace is flowing.
Yeah.
So if peace is not the priority, then it's going to be hard.
Pastor James, there's a question online.
Yeah.
Is it okay to date a non-Christian?
Nope.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you're absolutely right. I agree completely. This is what you just said, and then it makes me wonder if the person that's asking the question, if they are a believer. If you are a believer, why would you even want to pick up the burden of being unequally yoked with someone? Why would you even want to start in that way that now when you're praying to God, he doesn't even have the Spirit of God to even be able to, for the Spirit of God to be able to attach to the prayers that you're praying to be able to speak through, you to him. So I would say absolutely not. I don't know if the person that's asking the question, if they're a believer.
Let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you one thing. You know without a shadow of a doubt that you a Christian and there's something else. This is going to be your biggest problem. Man, it's going to be two gods fighting for a situation. It's going to be two gods fighting for a household. It's going to be two gods fighting for y'all lives.
That's so true.
And so the question is this. Why would you even want to even put yourself in spiritual warfare starting?
My God.
Pay attention. Two gods, whatever they God is and my God Jesus, your God Jesus. Right off the top, you starting the marriage. You starting a relationship in spiritual warfare. Instantly. You think you're going to start it in a war and end in peace?
Yeah.
You're going to start in a war and some going to die.
Yeah.
Because in warfare, some dies.
Yeah.
That's the only way one God survives. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's going to be hard for you to do that. I do not, and watch this, I already know the next thought. Well, so-and-so, they in a marriage and they married a Muslim and everything good. My question to you is this. Are they the exception or the rule?
Yeah.
Right? And then here comes the next revelation behind it. They just look good on the outside. You don't know what's going on inside of that house.
Jesus.
Monday through Friday when they're not in front of you.
Right.
Yeah, everybody can put on the right face.
Yeah.
Everybody can put on a counterfeit smile. Everybody can do all that. But the truth of the matter is you don't really know what's going on.
Right.
Maybe smiling in front of you, but maybe getting every type of abuse that you can have.
I just, once again, we try to find ways to make the Bible, we only want to choose the parts that work for us. There's literally scripture that tells us to not be unequally yoked.
2 Corinthians 6,
So
13.
why even go against what the word of God is telling you and then want God to come down and bless it?
Absolutely.
It doesn't work that way.
Absolutely.
It doesn't work that way.
To everybody that's under the sound of my voice, if this has been a blessing to you, why don't you give God a hand clap of praise right where you are? If this is spoken to you, if this has built you, if you feel like you got a little bit of wisdom and you know exactly, you've been strengthened in wise counsel on how to make a better decision in your singleness, and you know it's taking intentionality to step into intimacy, man, you ought to give God a hand clap of praise that you got wisdom today.